Long-drawn cases and slow pace of trials are so many in the country, a part of a parcel of Nigerian judicial system.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who has experienced the situation firsthand at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal in 2003, 2007, 2011 and 2019, is seeking a reform of Nigeria's judicial system, condemning the slow pace of trials in the courts. President Buhari also seeks reforms over what he called the multiple and sometimes conflicting orders of courts.
He is also proposing that the judiciary fully adopts technology in its operation to better deliver on its mandate. Joining us now in the studio is human rights lawyer, Justice Chineme Uhuegbu. Justice, it's nice to have you in the studio.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. It's been a while now, really. Okay. Now, the NBA has been holding its national conference, and it is one thing a lot of people look forward to, because out from there, a lot of things, Nigerians always expect a lot of things that would impact on the judiciary. Now, seeing the president's message to lawyers when it comes to reforms, which among all of those really touch you and you feel that should be expedited?
Well, there's always been reforms from time to time. Like if you look at the whole thing now, you discover that even in Lagos State, for example, there was a recent reform. As I speak to you, the Lagos State operates 2019 High Court civil rules and all the rest. So judiciary has been a system that always tried to upgrade. And again, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, because of the pandemic also, we are holding what we call a visual conference, which has never happened there before. So, but in as much as we are there now, the issue is that reforms will always come. And remember that reforms will based on the happenings and yearnings of the people. Professor Rousseau, one of our legal jurists in the world, once said that the law is to harmonize with the society. The implication of that is that as the society grows, the law grows alongside with the society. So there have always been reforms in the judicial system. In as much as I personally, one of the problems we're having in judiciary is politicians trying to also use judiciary for one reason or the other. But reforms have always...
But should that be an issue? Because the point there is that if the judiciary holds its own ground, whoever comes, you maintain the ground.
Yes, and that is why people like us have been calling on the issue of institutions, institutionalizing all the systems in the country. Because judiciary on its own is an institution on its own. So when you have a laid-down procedures, you know, that's what we call modus operandi. You understand it? So anybody that comes becomes, you know, and it doesn't become an issue because you must make down the laid-down rules and procedures in any system you come in, irrespective of where you're coming from. So,
but aren't the reforms expected to institutionalize, you know, the judiciary, for instance? Isn't that why all of the reforms and the calls for it over time has always been on?
Yes, that is.
So what is the challenge here?
No, that is the reason, because you see, the challenge here is like what I mentioned before. Remember that we are Nigerians. We are also part of the citizens and part of the mass. So at times we experience delay, experience one or two issues in judicial process, and the intervention also from the executive. Yes, that is one of the problems. It's just like the president is calling for reforms, technicals, and all the rest, but they are also part of the problem.
How so?
Yes, because most times the executive will also want to interfere with the judiciary. And in the wisdom of Professor A.C. Dicey, who propagated the rule of law. That is one of the reasons why the rule of law propagated that the three organs of government must work separately in order to avoid tyranny. By implication, each of the arms of government must be a watchdog to the other. But in practice today, it's not like that. And it's the problem of the judiciary, of the executive. Now, let me also tell you this. Because over time, and up till now, the judiciary has been living or, you know, surviving on the mercy of the executive. For funding especially.
Can the judiciary fund itself?
That's what I'm trying to say. In as much as the executive is the body that is supposed to be saddled with all this responsibility, but the judiciary is also supposed to be independent. You shouldn't use because the fund is coming from you. You are now making it as if the judiciary is a department of the executive. That's the problem we have. And if you remember, that has been my campaign in this country. We mustn't see some of like the legislature and judiciary as a department of the executive. No.
Yeah, but the point there is, if of course, ideally, all the three arms of government are equal, and the work they all have their specifications in the Constitution. If, like you have said, doesn't the judiciary have the powers to, ensure that there is a bill to the National Assembly to ensure that there is consolidation and also the total separation of power to make them independent of each other?
Yeah, they do. But the problem we have is just this issue of politics. Remember, even in the executive
is the judiciary helpless?
It's not as if they are helpless, but even in the judiciary, it now becomes an individualistic thing. Even in the executive arm, there are also lawyers who are members of the bar or judiciary or there, so to say. So that are supposed to be proactive and advise the executive properly what to do. But because we politicize everything in this country, and that is why you see in Nigeria, it seems the only viable, functioning and vibrant organ of the arm of the government is only the executive.
All right.
That is not supposed to be so.
All right.
Now, let's look at what the president is proposing at this time, a speed up of trials within 12 to 15 months. How feasible is it, looking at the structure of the justice system in the country as we speak? And there are talks about having just less than 2,000 justices and over 150,000 pending cases, according to reports.
Well, the truth is that with the population of Nigeria as it is today, we actually need to expand the judiciary, especially the adjudicators. What I mean by adjudicators, the judges, the magistrates, and the order. We need to appoint more people, or employ more people. Let me put it that way, because the word appointment, I don't like it, because it sounds political. And that's part of the problem we've been having in Nigeria. So we need to do more. And when you talk about speeding up judicial process, when you have many people handling matters, it will ease off the tension in judiciary. Like, I agree that most times if you go to court, like in Lagos and other places, you see one judge having up to 50-something cases in a day. Go to the magistrate court, which is always the court of first instance. You see a magistrate having up to 80-something cases in a day. So at the end of the day, is he a machine? So at the end of the day, you will not be able to do more than 10. And you adjourn. And at times, the adjournment takes like a month, 2 months, and thereabout. But as I speak to you, the judiciary is also trying. Like, for example, in Lagos State, the Lagos State Judiciary introduced the recording system. If you have visited the courts in Lagos State, you discover that most judges are no longer writing with long hand. And also, there is a recorder that is deployed the services of IT personnel who records what people are saying and all the rest, so in order to be fast. And you're talking about reforms and all the rest. Talking about bringing technology and all the rest. Before now, we did not have something like electronic evidence being admissible in the law courts. But today, it is admissible in the law court.
But that generated some level of controversy when a lot of persons were against it, that it was not constitutional.
No, it will. No. See, it is enabling, the Evidence Act is an enabling law. So it did not conflict with the Constitution simplicity. It's an enabling law, because the Evidence Act has always been there, and lawyers and in the judicial state will operate with the Evidence Act. So the Evidence Act only tried to modify, like I said before, improve on what you have, because formally you cannot tender electronic evidence like video clips, recorded audios, and all the rest in court. But today is admissible once you tender it, though it has a procedure. A legal procedure to tender it, and all. I think we are doing well somehow, in as much as not too good. But what I'm trying to say is we still need the support of both the executive and legislatures in moving forward. Because I keep on saying that any country that judiciary is down, that country is finished. Judiciary in every country is the only body or only arm that will hold a country. And in so doing, the judiciary must fully be independent. That's what we're saying. And that hasn't always been my problem. So if the judiciary is independent, a lot of things will happen. If we practice true federalism, states will make their own laws. For example, you are aware of the SCJN, Administration of Criminal Justice Law, which governs the federal government and admissible in almost all the courts. Lagos State have their own Administration of Criminal Justice Law in Lagos State and all the rest. So these are some of the things you discover. When the president talks about improving speedy trials and all the rest, and remember also that even before, it wasn't like that before. Today, election matters have a timeline that it must end. But I am also challenging the presidency. Again, if you remember the Mohammed West report on judicial reform, why did they not implement it? Why would you always talk the word that favors you and leave the word that do not favor you? So if we must move forward in Nigeria, we must be proactive and tell ourselves the truth.
All right. Now let's delve into the issue of conflicting rulings by courts sometimes. This is part of what the president also talked about. But you don't need the executive or even any other enabling law to logically look at the issue of conflicting ruling from two courts.
You see, in law, we say that when equities meet, the first in time prevails. Okay. Sorry, when two laws meet, the first in time prevails. Right. Now, if you have a conflicting judgment, let's say you have a judgment of the High Court, for example, Lagos State. You have judgment of the High Court, for example, in Abuja. Now, the issue is that which one came first? So that two laws have met. The first in time will do what? Prevail. And remember, most times, the High Court and the Federal High Court always have concurrent jurisdiction and all the rest. And that is, like you said, and that is where most times we look at politics playing a role here. When a governor will sit in the comfort of his office, or the president will sit in the comfort of his office.
But can't we separate politics from the judicial system?
We can, but the system.
The judicial system?
No, the system in the country. What do I mean by the system? I talked about fully independent and the funding of the judiciary. Imagine if the judiciary has its own source of funding direct from the federal allocation.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That you don't need funding to handle the issue of double ruling. That's what I'm saying.
No, I have told you that a better remedy for that is simple. When you have two conflicting rulings, you look at it, which one came first?
All right.
And in the wisdom of the judicial system also, the courts has also provided for a second layer and a third layer, which is the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court to remedy some of these situations.
All right. We have to leave it here now. Thank you so much, Justice Ufuebu, for your time on the program.
Thank you. This is my pleasure.
Right.